The small village of Tofield, located about 42 miles southeast of Edmonton in Alberta, Canada, sits near the large Beaver Hill Lake. Outside the village, there was once a farm owned by Mr. and Mrs. Macleod. The property had been abandoned by the couple, but on April 1, 1977, Mr. Macleod made a ghastly discovery while searching for a water pump in a septic tank. Someone had used the deep, 18-meter tank to dump a brutally tortured and severely decomposed body. Initially, investigators were unable to identify the victim, later known as Septic Tank Sam, and the case remains unsolved to this day. The victim was described as a man about 5 feet tall with dark hair, wearing a white shirt and jeans, and appearing to be in his late 20s. After the body was discovered, police immediately began an investigation. There was no identification found on the body, but there were other clear signs such as burn marks, presumably from propane gas, and cigarette burns on his flesh, decomposition process, but due to the water presence in the tank. The man had been brutally tied around his neck, sexually mutilated, and sustained blows to his head and chest. Someone had placed him in the septic tank and used lime to hasten that the chemical reaction hadn't occurred as the perpetrator had hoped. Without identifying the deceased, investigators dubbed him Septic Tank Sam. Despite all efforts, including sending dental records to 800 dentists, they failed to establish his identity. It seems likely the killer had transported the man far from the murder scene before dumping him in the septic tank. With no identity to go on, residents speculated that the murderer might be local, given the knowledge of the abandoned property. The brutal torture and subsequent dumping in a rarely checked location suggested someone with considerable local insight. Scientists estimated the body had been in the tank for about 4 months. The prevailing theory was that someone harbored an intense hatred for the victim, justifying the extreme violence, and had possibly transported him there from outside the village to hide the evidence. During the autopsy, forensic experts discovered that the man had a childhood illness, leading investigators to call in a specialist who posited the victim might be Native American or Caucasian, aged between 25 and 40 years. After 4 years of investigations, the case was closed unsolved, leaving the true identity of Septic Tank Sam and the mystery of his murder as a lingering question to this day.